do that. They had to make some big changes in their lives in order to pay forward the blessings as if the Savior was offering them. Follow me study this week.
And you can move ahead, Gary.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, you are beautiful just the way you are. Step into the love, you're illuminated by the glory of God's love. Step into the truth, from within your abundance overflows. Our love can change one life can change the world. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me, step with me. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me, step with me, step into the light.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Vita Spiritual Learning Center. It's a great Super Sunday, football or not, right? Anyway, I'm glad you're joining us here today. Welcome. This is our weekly gathering, and this is a time for us to join together in various spiritual practices, as well as hearing an inspiring message, I hope, and to sing a little and to be with each other. So again, thank you for being here today, and welcome to our community. And one of the things that we do each week is we remind ourselves of our vision and mission. And what I would encourage you to do is to I'm just going to read this to you first, and then from there we will unmute and say it together in both English and in Spanish. And for me, Spanish is not my first language, so it's extending and stretching into another language, which gives the this reading a different kind of perspective, a different feel. So I'll say it first. By valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. Al valorar y potenciar todo, inspiramos una vida plena y alegre. So unmute yourselves if you're like, and we'll say this together. So here we go. By valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. Al valorar y potenciar todo, inspiramos una vida plena y alegre. Well, you're sounding wonderful this morning. And as is our custom, we continue with our spiritual practice, having sung a little bit, having reminded ourselves of our vision and mission. I want to introduce you to our practitioner of the day, and that is Angelica Guzman. She is going to lead us in some meditation and an invocation. So take it away, Angelica.
Hello, good morning. So at this time, I would ask you if you would sit up straight and close your eyes so we could center ourselves in meditation. And we're going to breathe in and exhale. We'll breathe again once again. Hold it for a bit and exhale. With lots of gratitude, we'll breathe again, knowing we had the opportunity to come and join everyone for this meeting, for this celebration, for this moment of gathering and love. Center on this space. Center on this space. I recognize that we are one with the Spirit, one with the divine power. That is love, pure love, and getting closer to Valentine's Day, even though we don't have a special day to feel this love that emanates from within. We have a special day to remind, to remember, and to share this love that it's already within. The love that it's provided by God, by the power force. So we breathe in to feel that love that emanates from our higher energy into our body. We are conscious of that presence of the love of God within us. And with that feeling of love, I let it travel through my whole body. Loving my body, loving the parts of it, loving the blood, loving with all my senses. I will travel through my hearing. On my hearing, I will think about love. I am receptive to hear words of love, to hear music that brings love into my spirit, to hear sounds of nature that produce love within me. I go into my sense of taste, all the food, fruits, vegetables that bring nutrients and through them love to my body. I will think about my sense of sight. I will allow it through my eyes to feel love for everything I see, for everyone I see. Because on everything that I see and everything that comes through my eyes, that's the essence of God that builds up, regenerates, and gives birth to this love that already inhabits my body. I'm thinking about my sense of touch, to be able to touch our family members, our kids, our parents, plants, food, our bed, our covers, and emanate the love to all those objects that are coming into our touch, as well as the love that I receive from everything that encounters my sense of touch. Feeling that sense of love within my body. I take a few seconds to feel the love in my body. Feel it in any part of your body that doesn't feel as good this morning, or just a part that you just want to send all your love so it could be in perfect functioning, or just to our heart, where our feelings and our emotions are saved. Let's get the feeling of love this morning. Knowing that that's the highest energy in the universe. I feel ready this morning to let my love go and spread in the universe, spread to the world, spread in my family, in my job, and everything I do, in full connection with our divine power. This morning, as we are here all together with this feeling of love to receive and to give, we are thankful that we are united this morning, that there's only one power, one God, one spirit in the universe, and that this power expresses itself through my life, through our life. We are thankful we have the opportunity to listen to a wonderful message, knowing that this morning it's full of gratitude, knowledge, and love. And so it is. And slowly open your eyes. And we'll get ready for our message this morning. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. We have some announcements to bring your way this time. And so we will remind everyone about our Minute Miracles with a Practitioner. And these are times when, after service, we can pair you with a practitioner where you can have a few moments in a private chat room, and you can bring up whatever is on your heart. You know, it may be something that you're wishing for. It may be something that you're grateful for. Whatever that may be, that is perfectly the time to be able to do that, to just have some of that private time. And so our practitioners are available for that, to just to be in that space, to be in that place of oneness. All right. So we have some folks to thank this morning. We just had a wonderful prayer and meditation from our practitioner of the day, Angelica Guzman, and we thank her very much for doing that for us this day. We are also in anticipation of a wonderful message from Rev Kevin, who is going to bestow upon us the words of wisdom for the day. And so we thank him in advance for his time and effort to put himself in contact with the divine and bring that to us. We also like to acknowledge every week our live stream moderators. Those are the folks who hang out on both YouTube and on Facebook and welcome people, answer questions, and just kind of keep an eye on what's happening in our extra virtual service members. We have our leadership council who does the all the business of the church and keeps all of that stuff in line, and they do just a wonderful job of keeping us on the path of financial goodness and all of the other things that go along with that. And of course our music team. They bring us this wonderful music each week, and we're really grateful to that. And also we are grateful to all of you for joining us on this wonderful Sunday morning, this super morning, so to speak. And one of the spiritual practices that we talk about is this idea of giving as a spiritual practice. And it's one of those places where we can, in our heart of hearts, look at the blessings that we have and see how it is that we can share those. And one of the ways to share those in that spiritual practice is with our community. And we have several ways in which you can do that. You can send a gift to our mailbox, which is the address is 3350 East 7th Street, number 529, and that's in Long Beach, California, 90804. You can also use your bill pay service, and you can set that up with your bank. We also have, for your availability, the donate buttons for credit card or debit payments. Those are available in the chat, and they're also available on our website. And we have another way you can do that, and that is if your bank is connected up with the Zelle service, you can send a gift by simply putting in this email address, and that is vida@vidaslc.org. And so those are the ways that we can do that. And so in keeping with that spiritual practice, we also have a saying that we put together here, and we're going to say this together. So I'm going to invite you to unmute, and this is a time where we get to do our two languages all at the same time, whichever language meets your needs. Mine is English in this case, and we do have those who will do that also in Spanish. So feel free to unmute and let us say these together. And here we go. Abundance
flows in my life.
I
am blessed with prosperity. I give with generosity. Yes. I tithe on faith, belief, and with a consciousness of love. My gift of divine circulation through me now benefits and grows our spiritual community and beyond.
And now,
And so it is.
all right. Alrighty, let us prepare for our message this morning, and let's unmute this time and sing along as you will with our preparation song, In the Spirit.
I'm walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, the Spirit of one God, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit, the Spirit of one God, moving in the Spirit, oh,
You're muted.
Just a moment. Sorry about that. Gary, I'm going to pass this back to you for a second. And now you're muted. Hang on 1 minute here. So let me jump right into it. Here's our themes for 2022 brought. Well, hello and welcome to our weekly gathering at Vita Spiritual Learning Center. I'm delighted to be with you here today. So let me jump right into it. Here's our themes for 2022 brought to us by Centers for Spiritual Living. And the 2022 theme is Living Everyday Wonder. The theme for February is The Inner Life. And our message, our topic for this week is called A Pause for the Cause. And our contributor is Dr. Gladys Gonzalez Vigil, founding director at Centro Alquimia in Lima, Peru. How about that? And just for those who want to read along with our themes, the book for the year for 2022 is called Ordinary Wonder by Charlotte Joko Beck. And our book for the month of February is Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. So I'm just wondering how anyone is doing with living this everyday wonder in 2022. Since we've introduced that theme, have you noticed how much more wondrous, wonderful, how much in awe you might be of ordinary, everyday things? And it's indeed wondrous that you and I are just gathered here today through this technology. And this technology is really allowing us to circulate the light and love of living spirit. Pretty wonderful, I feel. So in February, we're looking at the inner life. And the inner life implies there's an outer life, and that maybe life is dual in some way. And an inner life apart from an outer life would be two different lives, right? But in the science of mind and spirit, Ernest Holmes says there is one life, and that life is God, and that life is my life now. So whether it's an inner life or an outer life, they're both aspects or facets of one universal life. And it doesn't mean that that one life is my life apart from yours. It means all of our lives are part of one life, that universal life. And that inner and outer life are all activities of living spirit. So at times, the inner life is getting your attention, and at times, the outer world is getting your attention. So whether you're trying to heal some psychic wound or to amplify something already rich and full, you and I are here today to live that full life, to feel better, to have a better life. And more specifically, you recognize that this human phase is really the best opportunity to grow your consciousness, for your soul to heal, to grow, to learn and love. And this human phase is about balancing a rich inner life with the wonders of the world. So Dr. Gladys Gonzalez Vigil says, "For this you have dressed in this suit of flesh. That it is the vehicle you need to function on this plane of existence, and it's what you need to fulfill your purpose of transformation, to live the life of God. And you can live from a position of power, knowing that you extend and emanate from a greater consciousness, and that there is a divine intelligence behind your existence. Pretty phenomenal, I feel. Thank you, Dr. Gladys. So a pause for the cause begins with the pause. And a pause can be that moment that you took a few minutes ago just to notice something wondrous. A pause can be a backward glance. It means it can be that opportunity to notice how your life, good or bad, how it got to be the way it is. And it's that pause where you notice, in the case of the Science of Mind teaching, the thinking, the choices that have created and continue to create the totality of your life, meaning those perceptions that you associate with this earthly phase of your soul's journey. And cause in this case refers to cause and effect. And cause and effect is a metaphysical principle. It's a kind of law or algorithm. It's the law that says that the egg begets the bird, that the seed begets the plant, and the thought begets reality. So as a metaphysician, one of the basic tools in growing your consciousness is using the law of cause and effect. And the law of cause and effect has a few dimensions to it. The first dimension is the one that's most easily understood. It is a way of consciously creating. In our case, it is consciously co-creating with living spirit, with that universal presence. So that's one dimension of cause and effect. There's another dimension of cause and effect, which is retracing your steps. You look at the effects, at what is manifested or outpictured in your life, and trace them back to what we hope to be true causes. And this includes a process of bringing beliefs to conscious awareness. And you bring those beliefs to conscious awareness to either reject the belief and release it, to update it or modify that belief, or to strengthen or reinforce a belief that tends to really be working well for you. And a third dimension is to analyze your inner and outer life so you can discern, you can figure out the difference between what we would call coincidence or correlation or superstition from an actual cause and effect relationship. So you've heard that phrase, correlation, it does not mean causation. Just because two events either occurred next to each other or were part of a sequence, a step one and then a step two, doesn't necessarily mean step one caused step two. It's just how they happen to have occurred. So in our case, we're being very deliberate about noticing our thoughts, our thinking, and that thinking is a cause. It is something that sets spirit into motion. And that spirit set into motion then outpictures and manifests, demonstrates something in the world of effect, in the world of your sensory perceptions. So as you become accomplished in the use of metaphysical law, you begin to realize some maxims, some truisms about the use of those metaphysical laws. The first one comes from Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward said, "Principle is not bound by precedent." And the first thing that this principle that is not bound by precedent, you'll notice, is that as you work the law again and again, you get different, usually better results, right? Mostly because your next application is with a consciousness that has healed and grown from the previous application. So follow me on this. As you work the law, as you practice this law of cause and effect. You catch an idea, you set an intention in your life, and then that intention comes to fruition. It manifests, it demonstrates in your life. You say, this is great, let me do it again. And you do it again, yet you get something different. You get something maybe better, or maybe something that leads you in a different direction. So even within yourself, principle is not bound by precedent. Whatever you got the first time around is probably going to be a little bit different the second time around. And the next thing you know, that what you manifest and demonstrate in your life by working the law of cause and effect isn't tied to anyone else's, right? You're healing and growing primarily from your own consciousness, and therefore those manifestations and demonstrations are unique to you, right? You're not duplicating exactly someone else's manifestations and demonstrations. Two people can be applying the same principle of cause and effect. They can even have the same exact intention. But the demonstrations of those intentions are going to be unique to that person. Yours is going to be unique and different from someone else's. And as Reverend Sunshine says, you are the unique and unrepeatable way that Spirit expresses an experience in this plane of existence. So how does pause come into this idea of cause and effect? Well, part of the 3 areas of pausing that I talked about before is to take a pause to clarify your intention, right? And that also leads to something that is hopefully something you're doing every day, which is spiritual practice, right? So spiritual practice is a form of a pause. Before you set any of these other metaphysical laws in motion, you are taking time to meditate and to treat or affirm or pray. You're taking time to journal or do some form of spiritual study. You're taking time to vision. You're taking that moment of receptivity and just getting the God idea for your life. You're also perhaps seeing your spiritual counselor. You're joining in the beloved community. You are circulating your good in that community, giving as a spiritual practice. So you're doing all of these things, and all of that is sort of an intention to elevate yourself out of sort of earth plane attention, the outer world attention, and you're taking that pause to look inward, to cultivate your inner life. I love the biblical quote from Romans 12, chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not imitate the way of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may discern what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." So that's pretty fantastic. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So let me just talk about that a little bit. So do not imitate the ways of this world. Well, world is the outer life. It's an effect of some other cause. So the outer world, when used to its best and highest purpose, is going to reflect or mirror back to you what you're creating in your thinking. As bad or good as it might be, the world of effect is not for some static purpose. It's not to be stuck in a life as is. But in order for your thinking to evolve, for your consciousness to grow, you're going to have to take in that sensory information from the world of effect. It says, transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, we have a bumper sticker in Science of Mind and in Centers for Spiritual Living that goes something like, change your thinking, change your life. And that you can fit on a bumper sticker, and it's pretty handy. Change your thinking, change your life, right? And you might have noticed on the back of cars, there are a variety of things from stickers all the way up to entire wraps. And so I'm going to expand on this, and we're probably going to end up with a banner, right? But mind So the renewing of your mind, and the science of mind and spirit, mind is not just your conscious thoughts, right? But it's all aspects of your sensory being and all of your creative faculties. It is the subconscious. It is your beliefs. It is those other ingrained habits or patterns. It is your intuition. It is your feelings. These are all part of mind, and that mind that is local to you is part of the one mind of which you are an extension and an emanation. Isn't that fantastic? So the bumper sticker gets a little bit bigger, and it says, pause first to become aware of your thinking. And once you become aware of your thinking, then your thinking is directed. It is consciously being able to be changed, right? And then as your thinking is changed, the challenge becomes, how do you keep it changed? How do you keep from reverting back to old habits, old patterns, old beliefs? And finally, the quote from Romans says, discern what is that good will of God. Well, this obviously brings up a whole nother topic about my will versus God's will. I mean, you appear to have some will that operates according to your choice. And that will can appear to diverge from or align with a greater will, or God's will, as we might call it. But whether you're aware of it, your will is all part of God's will. Right? Let me just say that again. Whether you're aware of it, your will is all part of God's will, because this is all one life and it's all one mind. And that as your consciousness heals and grows, what you once perceived to be your will, separate from anyone else's or anything else's or God's will, is actually you becoming more aware of a tendency of spirit within. So as you're sort of more suggestible to something greater than a limited life that you might have imagined for yourself, that will of God is actually willing out, right? And so you're becoming more aware of that tendency of spirit within and surrounding you to express and experience more of the good that it is, more of the God self, the good self. And that intention in general is for you to be a happier and more peaceful and more compassionate and more loving presence, right? And so from a science of mind perspective, renewing your mind helps you discern what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. It helps you really begin to consciously align with that will that wants love and joy and peace. So as you discern, your life changes. Your moment-to-moment living aligns more closely to the truth of your being, which is pure spirit. So now we've got a whole banner to cover the back of our car, which is pause, witness your thinking. And as you witness your thinking, you are able to change your thinking. And as your thinking changes for the better, through spiritual practice, you keep it changed. And as you keep it changed, you change your life. At times, the use of the creative process, this idea of cause and effect, this law of cause and effect, it appears to bring about material change. So I want to be really clear about this. You're not changing the world. You're not changing God. But you are changing your expression and experience of God. You're getting better at living spirit. So that's what's changing. You're coming more in alignment with, more an expression of, more an experience of living spirit, who you are at your innermost self. So becoming skilled in metaphysics begins, as I mentioned, with the law of cause and effect. And mind is that those thoughts, those feelings, those intuition, those ideas, that inner life, all of that is creating your life, and it's creating in proportion to what I refer to as the frequency and the phase of the amplitude of that thinking. So thinking out pictures, it manifests, it demonstrates Sometimes it's something in the material world, but it certainly demonstrates and manifests as an inward sensation that shifts. You feel better, and you feel better more frequently. Now, like most people, my early use of cause and effect were experiments in making definite the infinite, right? To manifest that parking space, or manifest that relationship, or manifest that job, right? These are all sort of comparatively small potatoes for living spirit. But as I was taught, when I ask the universe for something, I add the qualifier, this or something better, right? Because I know I'm starting out with some relatively small ask, some might be admittedly limited thinking, right? But my positive experience with cause and effect begins to build a foundation upon which more and more spiritual growth is not only possible, but it is happening. And this idea of cause and effect is really vital to identifying and redirecting thoughts of being less than or at the effect of, or what I would call stinking thinking, right? So that I'm able to affirm the constructive and positive opposite. So what do I mean about frequency, phase, and amplitude of thought? Well, as I've said many times, fleeting thoughts have fleeting demonstrations, right? As those thoughts come and go, they have little overall net growth in consciousness, let alone have very temporary manifestations or demonstrations. But thinking that is consistent and well-timed and deep, those have definite manifestations, and that certainly grows your consciousness. And the manifestations themselves become the basis for a more consistent and a more well-timed and a deeper thinking. And all of that contributes to more and more healing and more growing in consciousness. And you take that pause to appreciate what are the causes, what is the first cause that is synonymous with God, what is the infinite creative force for good that you are using. And cause is sort of an ongoing and constant and ever creating goodness. You can just think about first cause that way. Effects are temporary and changeable. And as I've learned, it's important to pause and recognize and appreciate both causes and effects, so not to get stuck in the realm of effect, not to overly live a life in the outer world, which is giving not enough attention to an inner life, right? So it's easy to get distracted with the effects, with the stuff, with the achievements, with the accomplishments. And no matter how hard you try, those things are fleeting. They're temporary because they are effects. They are changeable. But the cause, the infinite creative, it is absolute. And that infinite creating is awaiting my next use of it to advance my consciousness, to be a more loving, more peaceful, more compassionate circulator of living spirit. Well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful week. Well, thanks everybody. Well, we've got plenty of time for a prayer, so let's all join together in a prayerful moment, if you might. Close your eyes if you're comfortable, or just cast your gaze somewhere inspiring. And turn your attention inward, and turn your attention toward that presence that knows, that presence that feels, that presence that loves. Just really attuned to something positive, something constructive, and get that as a sensation. Get that as a feeling. Allow the radiation of your thinking right now to have to follow deeper into your being. And as you do that, I declare that that is living spirit. That is the substance of spirit within you. That is God doing its thing through, to, and as you. And as we are all that extension, that emanation, that meditation in the mind of God, what is true for us in this feeling moment right now is true for all beings everywhere. It is true for all of those causes, those things that originate or create. It is true for the effects. Those effects and causes are all part of living spirit. So I speak my word that we become the compassionate witnesses to our own thinking, that this comes easily and effortlessly to us, that we are courageous in that witnessing, because it is that path of transformation. It is what is in front of us, what is present, and what is transformative. And in that transformation, we embrace the power, the presence, the compassion of living spirit that much more deeply, that much more fully. We recognize and appreciate the journey we are on, that we are powerful spiritual sojourners moving through this phase of our soul's incarnation with an ease and a grace, with a love, with a peace, with a joy, with a creativity, and with that acceptance of circulating that good, to be in that flow of love and life, just to feel that, to sense it, to circulate it consciously. I speak my word that as you and I heal in consciousness, we are growing in consciousness. And to heal is to make whole, to heal is to be loving, to heal is to be compassionate. So in the midst of all the outer world appears to us, we are buoyed and anchored in that inner life that knows, that creates, that loves, that cares. So blessing the world as we are blessed, I give great thanks for this communion, this connection, this technology, this teaching, this answered prayer. And I lovingly release all of this, these thoughts, these feelings, into the law of mind, knowing that God is saying yes to more love and more life right here and right now, and that you are saying yes to more love and more life right here and right now. And as you say yes to this greater consciousness, this deeper connection, this fuller circulation, that is all happening for you, for me, right here and right now. It's happening right now. And together we say, and so it is, and now it is. Well, thank you very much. Well, I love being with you today. It was my first attempt at recording the message, so I appreciate your compassion and your understanding, and I promise I'll get better at it. Well, some great comments as well, and thanks to folks out there on the live stream. And it is, well, I think we'll just wrap up with singing our closing prayer, In Love We Stand.
This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With our one heart and
All right. Well, let's say farewell to our live streamers. You guys, you out there, have a wonderful week.